The stars were quiet in this region of space, the kind of quiet that made most pilots uneasy. Captain Aaron Hale floated inside the narrow cockpit of his damaged scout ship, hands steady on the controls even as warning lights blinked around him. The ship was not dying, not really. It was only pretending to be. Aaron had learned long ago that sometimes survival meant looking broken enough that others underestimated you. The engines were powered down on purpose. The hull breach along the starboard side was real, but sealed. Life support hummed, at minimum. To any passing sensor sweep, the ship looked like a drifting corpse. Aaron exhaled slowly and checked the countdown in the corner of his display. 10 minutes until his beacon would shut itself off. 10 minutes until the automated drones he had released earlier finished mapping the alien patrol routes in the system. 10 minutes until he moved again. He was deep in unfamiliar territory, far beyond officially charted human space. High Command would not be happy, but High Command also liked results, and Aaron had always been good at getting those. A shadow passed over his viewport. Aaron's eyes narrowed. That was not part of the plan. A sleek alien vessel slid into view, its surface curved and layered like overlapping scales. It glowed faintly with blue and gold light, elegant and unmistakably military. Energy signatures flared, careful and controlled. Whoever they were, they knew what they were doing. Well, Aaron muttered to himself, so much for quiet. A tight beam of light scanned his ship from nose to tail. His systems registered the intrusion, but did nothing to stop it. He let the ship remain silent, helpless, exactly as it looked. Inside the alien vessel, Commander Cyriel of the Vithari fleet studied the scan results with focused intensity. The small craft before her was unlike anything she had seen up close before. Angular, rough, scarred, human-made, according to the database that flickered to life beside her. "Life signs?" she asked.
"Yes, Commander," her sensor officer replied. "Single occupant."
Vital readings weak but stable. Sariel's crest lifted slightly, a sign of alert interest. Humans were rare this far out. Dangerous, unpredictable, but fascinating. The reports described them as clever survivors. Yet this one looked broken. "A lone human scout," she said, stranded and silent. "Possibly a trap," another officer suggested.
"Possibly," Sariel agreed, "but no active weapons."
No power buildup, and no distress signal. She studied the drifting ship again. In Vithari culture, survival carried weight. Rescue carried even more. To save a life was to bind it, not in chains, but in honor. "Prepare a boarding team," Sariel said. "I will lead." The docking clamp latched onto Aaron's ship with a solid thud that vibrated through the hull. He felt the faint shift in gravity as the alien system stabilized his craft. "Guess I'm not invisible today," he whispered. He powered down his internal displays and floated still as the outer hatch was cut open with precise efficiency. Light spilled into the cockpit, brighter and warmer than his own dim emergency lamps. Figures moved through the opening, tall, armored shapes with smooth helmets and glowing markings. At their center was one figure without a helmet, her features sharp and symmetrical, skin a deep shade of violet blue, eyes bright gold. She moved with confidence, like someone used to command. Sariel stepped closer, her gaze settling on the human floating inside the cockpit. He looked smaller than she expected, restrained by his seat harness, dark hair damp with sweat, face pale from low gravity and recycled air. Alive, though. Very much alive. "Human," she said, her voice translated into clear neutral tones. "You are safe now." Aaron forced himself to let his head tilt weakly toward her. He loosened his grip on the controls and allowed his shoulders to slump. "Safe," he echoed softly, as if the word itself took effort. Sariel felt a strange tightening in her chest. The scans had not lied. He had been close to death. Alone, silent, proud enough not to beg.
You were drifting without power, she continued.
Why did you not signal for aid? Aaron hesitated just long enough to sell the lie.
Beacon. Damaged, he said. Didn't think anyone would come.
It was not entirely false. The beacon was damaged. By him.
Sariel nodded slowly. Among the Vathari, endurance without complaint was respected. She reached out and released the human's harness. Careful and gentle. Her hands were strong, steady. We will bring you aboard our ship, she said. Your life is preserved by my command. Aaron let himself drift slightly toward her, just enough that she had to catch him. Her grip tightened instantly, protective. Thank you, he said quietly. The boarding team exchanged glances. A life debt had just been formed, whether the human understood it or not. They moved him through the docking passage and into the alien vessel. The air was cleaner, warmer. Gravity returned smoothly. Aaron's boots touched the deck, and he swayed on purpose, just a little. Sariel supported him without hesitation. You should rest, she said. Medical care will be provided. I'll manage, Aaron replied. Just need a minute. She studied him again, closer now. He was wounded, yes, but not broken in the way she had first thought. There was alertness behind his eyes, a quiet awareness. Still, a rescued life was a rescued life. As they entered the med bay, Sariel spoke formally, her voice carrying across the room. I am Commander Sariel of the Vathari fleet, she said.
By my hand, you were saved from death in the void.
Medical officers moved quickly, scanning Aaron, applying patches, sealing minor injuries. He let them work, keeping his expression calm and tired. I'm Aaron, he said. Scout pilot, Human Exploration Corps. Sariel inclined her head. Aaron of humanity.
By our laws, you now carry a debt of honor,
Aaron blinked. What? A life debt, she said simply. You will repay it in accordance with our customs. Something in her tone made his instincts flare. He kept his face neutral. I appreciate the rescue, he said carefully. But I didn't realize. You did not need to, Sariel replied. The bond exists regardless of intent. Around them, the crew watched with open curiosity. Humans were rare. Human life depths even rarer. Aaron felt a flicker of amusement under the concern. This was unexpected, complicated, interesting. What does repayment involve? He asked. Sariel's golden eyes met his without hesitation.
In time, you will learn. Tonight, you will recover.
Tomorrow we will speak. She turned to leave, then paused.
Do not fear the debt, human. It is an honor.
Aaron watched her go, mind already racing. His drones were still out there. His mission was not finished. And now he was aboard an alien warship, claimed by a commander who believed she had saved him. He smiled faintly to himself. Yeah, he murmured. This just got a lot more complicated. Far from the quiet stars outside, something new had begun. Not a rescue, but a misunderstanding that would change far more than either of them expected. The medical bay lights dimmed as the cycle shifted to rest mode. Aaron lay on the narrow bed, hands folded on his chest, eyes half closed. His breathing was steady, calm. To anyone watching, he looked like a man recovering from a near-death experience. Inside his mind, he was wide awake. He listened to the ship. Every vessel had a rhythm, a sound pattern in the walls, a subtle hum in the deck plates. This one was smooth and controlled, military-grade, with layers of systems talking to each other in ways Aaron did not yet understand. He counted the seconds between the deeper vibrations, mapping the power flow. Old habit. Useful habit. A soft step approached. Commander Sariel entered the medbay alone this time. She had removed her armor and wore a simpler uniform. dark fabric marked with silver lines along the shoulders. Without the plating, she seemed less imposing, but no less confident. Her posture remained straight, her movements precise. She stopped beside Aaron's bed and studied him. The medical readings hovered above him in faint light. Stable, improving.
You heal quickly, she said. Aaron opened his eyes and turned his head slightly toward her.
I've been told that before. She considered this. Human resilience is well documented. Still, your condition when we found you suggested extended exposure to danger. Occupational hazard, Aaron replied. Scouting isn't exactly safe. Sariel nodded. And yet you were alone. Usually am. That answer lingered between them. She moved closer, folding her hands behind her back. You did not ask further about the debt. Aaron gave a small shrug. Didn't want to seem ungrateful.
You misunderstand, she said. Among my people, clarity is respect. All right, Aaron said.
Then I'd like clarity. Sariel inclined her head slightly. You were saved by my decision. By our customs, a rescued life must acknowledge that act. The debt ensures balance between us. And balance means, he prompted. For now, she said, it means you remain under my protection. You will not be harmed, restrained, or traded. Your needs will be met. That part I like, Aaron said honestly. A faint ripple passed along the ridges at her temples. Amusement, he guessed. In return, she continued, you will give what is asked when the time comes. Not service, not obedience, presence. Presence, Aaron repeated. Yes, that was vague enough to be dangerous. Before he could ask more, an alert chimed softly. Sariel glanced at the display near the door. We are approaching a neutral station, she said. Repairs will be made to your vessel. My ship? Aaron asked, surprise breaking through his careful calm.
You're fixing it? It is damaged, she replied. Leaving it so would be wasteful. Aaron nodded slowly.
That was generous. Or strategic.
Am I free to leave once it's repaired? He asked. Sariel met his eyes.
You are not a prisoner, but the debt remains, regardless of distance. Of course it does, Aaron thought. She turned to go, then paused.
Rest? You will be invited to join me later.
Invited, Aaron echoed. Good to know. When she left, the medbay felt quieter than before. Hours passed. Or what passed for hours aboard a ship that ran on precise cycles rather than day and night. Aaron slept lightly, waking often, mind drifting between dreams and calculations. When the door opened again, it was not Sariel. A tall, Vethari male stepped inside, his posture less rigid, his expression openly curious. He carried a tray of food, carefully arranged portions, colorful and steaming. I am Tavar, he said.
Engineering division.
Aaron pushed himself upright.
Aaron.
Scout division. Currently. Guest. Tavar's crest flicked in what might have been a smile. You are the rescued one.
So I've heard, Aaron said. Tavar set the tray down.
Commander Sariel has instructed that you eat. These are compatible nutrients. Mostly, Aaron said, eyeing the unfamiliar textures. That's reassuring. Tavar watched him with open interest as Aaron tasted a portion, nodded, and continued eating without complaint. You are calm, Tavar observed. Should I not be? Most rescued beings show distress, gratitude, fear, relief.
Aaron swallowed. I'm relieved.
Just quietly. Tavar seemed to accept that. He leaned against the wall. The crew is discussing you. Good things, I hope. Uncertain things, Tavar corrected. Your ship showed no active defense, yet it carried advanced countermeasures. Your systems were dormant, not destroyed. Aaron shrugged. Humans like backups, and backups for the backups, Tavar said, thoughtfully. Yes, we are learning this. A silence followed, not uncomfortable, but watchful.
Can I ask you something? Aaron said.
Tavar tilted his head. You may. What does presence mean to your people? Tavar's eyes brightened slightly.
You have been told of the debt.
I have,
Aaron said.
Not much detail, though.
That is because it is not transactional, Tavar explained. Presence is shared time without deception. A night cycle of honesty. Words. Silence. Understanding. Aaron relaxed a fraction. So, talking. Yes, with intent. That was better than whatever his imagination had supplied. And it's mandatory? Aaron asked. When the rescuer calls for it, Tavar said. Yes. Aaron nodded slowly.
Got it. Later, after Tavar left, Aaron was escorted from the medbay. His steps were steady now, his movements controlled.
The crew watched him as he passed through the corridors, some with curiosity, some with open respect. He noticed everything. The way the corridors curved gently, never forming sharp corners. The placement of security nodes. The way officers carried themselves, alert but not aggressive. This was a disciplined ship. He was brought to a viewing chamber, overlooking the stars. Sariel stood near the wide, transparent panel, hands clasped behind her back. Your strength has returned, she said without turning. Enough to walk, Aaron replied. Thanks for the hospitality, she faced him. You are observant. Again, occupational habit. They stood in silence for a moment, stars drifting slowly beyond the hull. My crew is unsettled, Sariel said. They expected a helpless survivor. Instead, they see a human who adapts too quickly. Aaron smiled faintly.
We don't do helpless very well. No, she agreed. You do not. She studied him more closely now.
When we found you, your ship was quiet, but not empty of intention. Aaron met her gaze evenly. You're saying I don't look like someone who gave up? I am saying, Sariel replied, that I may have interrupted something. That was closer to the truth than she knew. I won't insult you by lying, Aaron said carefully.
I wasn't expecting a rescue, but I wasn't dying either.
The admission hung between them, sharp and honest. Sariel's expression did not harden. Instead, it shifted, curiosity deepening into something more thoughtful. Then why remain? She asked.
Why accept the role of the saved?
Aaron considered his answer. Because sometimes, the fastest way forward is not to fight the misunderstanding. It's to learn from it.
Sariel's crest lifted slightly.
Interest, you are strange, she said. So I've been told, Aaron replied. Another pause. This one felt different, balanced. The debt remains, Sariel said at last. But its meaning may not be what I first assumed.
I'm open to discussion, Aaron said.
That, she replied, is good. As the stars continued their slow drift outside the hull, both of them sensed it. This was no longer just a rescue in a debt. It was the beginning of something uncertain, complicated, and quietly powerful. And humans, as the galaxy would soon learn, thrived in uncertainty.
The first warning came as a low vibration through the deck, so gentle that most of the crew barely noticed it.
Aaron noticed immediately. His steps slowed as he walked beside the escorting officer, his head tilting slightly, as if listening to something far away. The rhythm of the ship had changed. Not broken, not damaged, just tense. A sharp tone followed, then another. This time, the crew reacted. Lights shifted from soft white to alert amber. Voices rose in controlled bursts as officers moved with practiced speed. The escort stopped. "Remain here," she said, then hurried off. Aaron did not remain. He waited 3 seconds, long enough to be reasonable, short enough to be ignored. Then continued down the corridor in the direction of the bridge. No one stopped him. No alarms sounded. He walked like he belonged there, and most beings accepted what their eyes told them. On the bridge, Commander Sariel stood at the center, eyes fixed on the forward display. Her posture was rigid, controlled, but the tension was clear. "Report," she said. "Multiple contacts," an officer replied. "Emerging from subspace at the edge of the system, unknown configuration."
Sariel's eyes narrowed. "Weapon status? Active, but not charging." A pause. "Predators?" another officer muttered. Aaron stepped into the bridge without announcement.
Several heads turned. One officer opened her mouth to protest, then stopped when Sariel lifted a hand. The commander looked at Aaron. "You should not be here." "Probably not," Aaron agreed. He glanced at the display. "But those ships definitely shouldn't be." The unknown vessels hung in the dark like jagged shadows, their shapes uneven, aggressive. They did not follow standard formation. They moved like hunters, circling prey. Sariel studied Aaron's face. "You recognize them?" "Not specifically," he said. "But I recognize the behavior." "How?" she asked. Aaron pointed at the screen.
"They're not scanning randomly. They're focusing on your blind spots."
"That means they've studied ships like yours before."
The bridge grew quieter. "That suggests ambush," Sariel said. "Yes," Aaron replied. "And patience." As if on cue, one of the unknown ships surged forward, weapons flaring to life. The Vitari ship shook as shields absorbed the first strike.
"Return fire," Sariel ordered. Energy bolts streaked into space, lighting the darkness.
2 enemy ships veered away, agile and fast. One did not move quickly enough. It took a direct hit and burst into fragments. The others reacted instantly.
"They're spreading," an officer said, "trying to surround us."
Sariel's jaw tightened. Helm, evasive maneuvers. The ship turned sharply, engines flaring. Another impact rocked the hull, this one stronger. Aaron braced himself against a console. His eyes flicked across the data streaming past, too fast for most to follow. He smiled, faintly. "There," he said. "They're baiting you." Sariel turned sharply. "Explain."
"They want you to chase," Aaron said. "Your ship is strong, but not built for pursuit."
If you break formation, they'll pull you apart. We cannot simply retreat, Sariel said. We protect this route. I know, Aaron said.
"That's why you shouldn't play their game." She studied him for a long second. Then, against every instinct drilled into her by command training, she asked, "What would you do?" Aaron didn't hesitate. "I'd stop being predictable." He stepped closer to the main display, pointing. "Your shields are strongest here and here."
But your power distribution assumes forward engagement. Shift it.
"Make your rear quadrant look weak. That would invite attack," an officer protested.
"Exactly," Aaron said. "They'll take the bait." Sariel considered the idea.
Risky. Unorthodox. Human. "Do it," she said finally. The crew moved quickly, rerouting power. The ship's rear shield signature dimmed just enough to look vulnerable. The enemy ships reacted instantly, surging toward the apparent weakness. "No," Aaron said. Sariel didn't ask. "Release countermeasures. Rotate the ship." The Vethari vessel spun on its axis far faster than the attackers expected. Hidden emitters flared to life. A wave of energy rippled outward, not a weapon, but a disruption field. The enemy ships stumbled, their formations breaking apart. "Fire!"
Sariel commanded.
This time, the Thethari weapons struck true. 2 more hostile ships were destroyed. The remaining vessels hesitated, then retreated, slipping back into the dark. Silence fell over the bridge. Slowly, the alert lights dimmed. Sariel exhaled and turned to Aaron. "You were correct," she said. "Again." Aaron shrugged lightly. "They underestimated you. Easy mistake to fix." The crew looked at him differently now, not as a rescued survivor, not even as a curiosity.
As an asset.
"Damage report?" Sariel asked.
Minor hull stress, no casualties, an officer replied.
Sariel nodded. "Stand down from battle stations." As the crew relaxed, Sariel gestured for Aaron to follow her. They left the bridge together, walking in silence until they reached a quiet observation corridor. "You should not have that level of tactical insight," she said. Aaron leaned against the wall. "I'm a scout."
We survive by noticing patterns. You noticed ours, she said.
"And theirs," he replied. Another pause.
You said before that you may have interrupted something, Sariel said. I believe that is true. Aaron met her gaze.
I wasn't lying to you. I didn't plan on being rescued.
But I didn't plan on enemies showing up either. Sariel folded her arms. "If you had been alone, would you have survived?" "Yes," Aaron said simply. She studied his face, searching for doubt. "Found none. Then the debt," she said slowly, "is no longer clear." "Debts rarely are," Aaron replied. They continued walking. Later, in the engineering section, a system overload alarm sounded. Power fluctuated, lights flickering. The earlier battle had strained more than expected. "Containment failure in auxiliary systems," an engineer reported. Sariel was already moving. Aaron followed without being asked. Inside the access chamber, a plasma conduit sparked wildly, threatening to breach. The air shimmered with heat. "We need to shut it down," the engineer said, "but the manual controls are inside." "I'll go," Aaron said immediately. The engineer stared. "You are not trained for—" "I've done worse," Aaron said, already grabbing a heat-resistant harness. Sariel caught his arm. "You do not owe us this." Aaron looked at her hand on his sleeve. "I know." Then he smiled. "I'm choosing it." Before she could respond, he slipped into the chamber. Heat blasted him as the door sealed behind him. Sweat formed instantly on his skin. He moved quickly, carefully, counting steps, avoiding exposed arcs of energy. He reached the control panel, ripped it open, and slammed the manual cutoff. The conduit powered down with a violent hiss. Alarms ceased. When Aaron emerged, scorched but smiling, the engineers stared in disbelief. Sariel stepped forward.
You risked yourself? Part of the job, Aaron said. No, she said quietly.
It was choice. That night cycle, Sariel stood alone in her quarters, staring at the stars. The image of Aaron moving into danger without obligation replayed in her mind. He had not acted like someone bound by a debt. He had acted like someone who decided where he stood. When she summoned him later, it was not as rescuer to rescued. It was as commander to equal. And for the first time since she had found his drifting ship, Sariel wondered not what the human owed her, but what her people might owe humanity. The ship had returned to its steady rhythm, but something had changed within it. The crew moved with the same discipline as before, yet their glances toward Aaron carried a new weight. Not suspicion, not curiosity, recognition. Aaron felt it as he walked the corridors. No escort followed him now. No one told him where he could or could not go. Doors opened when he approached. Crew members greeted him with small nods, subtle gestures of respect. He did not let it go to his head. Instead, he focused on waiting. The summons came during the ship's low-activity cycle. A soft chime echoed in his temporary quarters, followed by Sariel's voice through the translator. "Come to my quarters." No command tone, no formal title, just an invitation. Aaron stood for a moment after the message ended, considering. This was it. Then, the moment the debt would be named, the moment presence would be claimed. He straightened his jacket, more out of habit than concern, and stepped into the corridor. Sariel's quarters were larger than most, but not extravagant. Clean lines, minimal decoration. A wide viewing panel showed the stars slipping by in silence. The room smelled faintly of unfamiliar herbs and warm metal. She stood near a low table, not in uniform, but in a simple garment that marked her as off-duty. Her posture was relaxed, but her eyes were sharp, thoughtful.
"You came," she said. "You called," Aaron replied.
She gestured toward the seating area. "Sit." They sat across from each other, a comfortable distance between them. For a moment, neither spoke. The ship hummed quietly around them, like a living thing listening in. "This is the night of presence," Sariel said at last. Aaron nodded.
That's what I was told. You seem calm, she observed.
"I usually am," he said. Then, more honestly, "But I'm paying attention." That earned him a slight lift of her crest. "Good," she said. "Then we will do this correctly." She rested her hands on the table, palms open. Presence is not about obligation. It is about truth. No ranks. No roles. Only what is spoken and what is not. Aaron leaned back slightly.
"So no pretending." "None," she agreed. Silence returned, deeper this time.
Not awkward. Intentional.
"You were not dying," Sariel said.
"No," Aaron replied.
"You allowed us to believe you were." "Yes. Why?"
Aaron considered his answer carefully. "Because I didn't know you, and because sometimes being underestimated keeps you alive."
Sariel nodded slowly. "You are honest."
"Usually," he said, "when it matters." She studied him. "You could have left after your ship was repaired." "I could have," Aaron agreed, "but you stayed." "Yes." "Why?" He met her gaze. "Because I was curious." "About us," she asked. "Or about me?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Both." That answer made her pause.
"You challenge our assumptions,"
Sariel said. "You act without being bound. You risk yourself without demand."
You refuse ownership. That's human, Aaron said simply.
"We don't belong to debts. We choose our connections." Sariel absorbed this in silence. "In my culture," she said slowly, "a rescuer holds responsibility, authority. The one saved must acknowledge that power." "And how do you feel about that now?" Aaron asked. She looked away toward the stars, uncertain. The admission was quiet, but heavy. "When I found you," she continued, "I believed I was strong and you were weak, that I held your life in my hands." "And now?" Aaron prompted gently. "And now," she said, turning back to him, "I see that you were never helpless, only patient." Aaron did not deny it. "That unsettles you," he said. "Yes," she replied. "And it excites me." He raised an eyebrow.
"That's honest. As promised," she said.
Another silence followed. This one felt warmer. "You saved us today," Sariel said. "In battle, in engineering, without being asked." "I didn't save you," Aaron replied. "I helped."
You would have managed? Perhaps, she said.
"But not without loss." She leaned forward slightly. "By our laws, that creates imbalance." Aaron frowned. "Meaning?" Meaning, she said, that if debts exist, then I owe you as well. Aaron laughed softly. Careful, that way lies a very complicated system. Her lips curved, just a little. I am beginning to understand why your kind confuses the galaxy. They talked then. About worlds. About travel. About the strange habits of humans. And the rigid customs of the Vetheri. Aaron spoke of long missions, quiet stars, and the strange comfort of being alone without being lonely. Sariel spoke of command, of expectations placed on her since youth, of the weight of making decisions that cost lives they did not touch. They did not need to. Time passed unnoticed. Eventually, Sariel stood and moved toward the viewing panel. Aaron joined her, standing beside, not behind. Her. The debt, she said, watching the stars, no longer feels correct. Aaron folded his arms loosely.
You don't have to decide anything tonight.
I do, she said. That is part of presence. She turned to face him fully. I release you from obligation, Sariel said clearly. Publicly, I will say the debt has been fulfilled. Aaron blinked, surprised.
Just like that? No, she said. Not just like that.
Because what replaces it is choice. Choice, Aaron repeated.
Yes,
she said.
You may stay or leave. Speak or remain silent.
Help or walk away. And what do you choose?
He asked. She held his gaze. I choose to know you without chains. A slow smile spread across Aaron's face. I can work with that. A soft chime sounded from the wall panel, signaling the end of the night cycle. Sariel exhaled, as if releasing something she had carried too long. This night, she said, was not what I expected. Me neither, Aaron said. And yet, she added, it feels right. They stood there a moment longer, two figures from different worlds sharing the same quiet space. When Aaron turned to leave, Sariel spoke again. Aaron.
He paused.
Yes?
When you depart, she said, know this.
You were never owned here. He nodded. I know. As the door closed behind him, Sariel remained by the stars, aware that something fundamental had shifted, not just between her and one human, but between her people and an idea they had never fully understood. That strength did not always come from command. Sometimes it came from choosing to stand together, freely. The repairs to Aaron's ship were finished during the next cycle. It rested in the hangar bay, clean and whole again, its hull plate sealed, its engines humming with quiet readiness. It looked less like a drifting wreck now, and more like what it truly was. A scout, built to go where others could not. Aaron stood beside it, hands resting lightly on the cool metal. He felt a familiar pull, the call of open space and unfinished paths. Leaving was what he did best. Behind him, the hangar doors slid open. Sariel entered alone. She stopped a few steps away, giving him space. There was no armor, no symbols of command, only her presence. Strong, calm, watchful. So, she said, this is farewell. For now, Aaron replied. Humans rarely mean goodbye the last time. She studied the ship. You will return to danger. Always, he said. It's where the useful information hides. A faint smile touched her face. Of course. They stood in silence for a moment, the sounds of the hangar filling the space between them. Tools clicking, distant voices, the low vibration of power systems.
My crew has been speaking, Sariel said. That sounds dangerous, Aaron said lightly.
They are questioning old assumptions, she continued, about rescue.
About debt. About humans. That's even more dangerous, he said, though his tone was gentle. They watched you choose to help when you owed nothing, Sariel said. They watched you leave power on the table when you could have claimed it. Aaron shrugged. I don't like owning people.
You make that very clear, she said.
And in doing so, you have changed something. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. The Vithari have long believed strength flows downward. From commander to crew, from rescuer to rescued. And now, Aaron asked. And now, she said, we have seen strength move sideways. That caught his attention. Sideways? Between equals, she explained. Between those who choose to stand together? Aaron nodded slowly. That's a good lesson. For us, she said. It is a difficult one. He smiled. Humans specialize in difficult lessons. A chime echoed through the hangar. A senior officer approached and saluted Sariel, then glanced at Aaron with open respect.
The council has responded,
the officer said. They request a formal report regarding the human encounter. Sariel inclined her head. I will provide it. The officer hesitated, then added, They are curious.
Aaron raised an eyebrow.
That's usually how it starts. The officer left. Sariel turned back to Aaron.
Your people will be discussed.
They already are, Aaron said. We tend to do that to others. She studied his face carefully.
When they ask what you are like, what should I say? Aaron considered. Tell them humans are stubborn, curious, and bad at staying where they're told. And dangerous? She asked.
Only when we care, he replied. That answer stayed with her.
You could have demanded protection, Sauriel said. Alliance.
Favor. Access. I could have, Aaron agreed. But you didn't. No, he said. Because if you give those things out of obligation, they rot. If you give them freely, they last. Sariel nodded slowly.
That is a very human idea. It works, Aaron said. She reached into her sleeve and produced a small, flat object, smooth, metallic, etched with faint symbols.
This is a Vithari command marker, she said. It grants safe passage through our space. Aaron's eyes widened slightly. That's not a small gift. It is not a debt, she said firmly. It is a choice. He accepted it, turning it over in his hand. Then I accept freely. Their eyes met. When next you drift silent in the dark, Sariel said quietly, do not assume you are alone. I won't, Aaron replied.
But I probably won't stop drifting. I would expect nothing less. A moment passed. Something unspoken, but understood.
Aaron climbed into his ship. The cockpit sealed around him, familiar and comforting. Systems came online one by one. The hangar bay lights reflected off the viewport. Sariel stood outside, hands clasped behind her back, watching. Commander, Aaron sat over the open channel. Yes? Thanks, he said. For seeing me? She inclined her head.
Thank you for showing us. The hangar doors opened. Space waited beyond, vast and uncaring.
Aaron's ship lifted smoothly and slid forward, passing through the energy field and into open space. The hangar doors closed behind him. On the bridge, Sariel watched the human vessel vanish into the stars. The ship felt different without him. Not quieter, just changed. Days later, the council chamber was filled with voices. Questions, doubts, curiosity. Sariel stood before them, calm and unyielding. The human was not rescued, she said. He was encountered. Murmurs spread.
He did not submit, she continued. He did not demand.
He chose.
And what does that mean?
One counselor asked. It means, Sariel replied, that humans cannot be measured by our customs. They do not trade in obligation.
They trade in decision. Is that not dangerous? Another asked.
Yes, she said.
For those who try to own them. Silence followed. Far away, Aaron's ship slipped through empty space. He released a new set of drones, collecting data, mapping routes, listening to signals not meant to be heard. One of those signals caught his attention.
Vithari encryption, he smiled.
Looks like curiosity works both ways, he murmured.
He sent a short burst in response, not a demand, not a claim, an invitation. In the months that followed, stories spread. Of a human who drifted into danger and walked out on his own terms. Of a Vithari commander who released a debt and gained something stronger. Other species took note because humans did not conquer through force. They did not bind through law or ritual. They arrived quietly, adapted quickly, and left behind questions no one could ignore. And once the galaxy realized that humans did not need to be rescued, only understood, everything began to change.